officially start rolling that. Let me just start off by saying good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. I'm going to shut that door literally for a legitimate reason today. Y'all may remember a number of weeks ago at the start of our semester, sometimes I act like I shut the door because we could have something that could get away from us, and I do this whole thing, but today we do have something that could potentially get away from us, and so I wanted to shut that door really today to do that. I hope y'all had a great weekend. I am starting through learning checkup number 2, and I want to tell y'all what a great time it is for me to read those responses. Hope to have those back on Wednesday, as well as the review of our guest speaker, Miss Katie, and we're going to talk about that when we're back together again on Wednesday. When we come in on Wednesday, you're gonna come in here, and I'm going to probably ask you to leave the room again, because we're going to do something together Wednesday that's really going to start us thinking about choreography when it comes to teaching. Now, I'm not going to be dancing up here or anything like that, but with regards to teaching with animals, I'll bring a bunch of different things in. We're going to talk about setting the mood, setting the environment to teach in, and do some of that stuff on Wednesday. So I think it's going to be a good time for sure. Speaking of good times, though, it's definitely going to be one today. Y'all, we're blessed to have 2 graduate students in our class, Ms. Liberty and Ms. Ben, and we're so fortunate that they are putting up with me along with y'all here throughout the semester. One of the things that they do as part of this experience is one additional thing, and that is to do some teaching. You get some experience teaching in here. Ben's got some experience with what we're going to be talking about today, and asked if he could do some teaching today, so I said absolutely. So we're going to learn from Ben for a little while today, and then with our remaining time, we're going to come back together and do a little activity that I think you're going to enjoy overall today. So I think it's going to be a great time. I think we're about to be wowed by Ben's teaching, like we were with Liberty's teaching, so we're excited about that. One thing I do want to mention, and I'll mention it before we go today as well, for Wednesday's class, if somebody in each of our teams could bring a laptop into class on Wednesday, just to have something to do some typing on, that'd be beautiful. I know a lot of us already have those, but if one person in each team could have their laptop Wednesday, we're going to be doing some transferring stuff right into a Word document I'll give you. That'll save us some time later. Wednesday, we're literally starting to put things on paper that we will be teaching later and at ESB, and I'll tell you more about it. But Wednesday is that halfway mark on our semester, exactly. And that's a great time to start putting the tires to the road, as we'll do on Wednesday. This will be exciting. Get creative. Then with that being said, I'm going to step out of the way and stand over here by the corner and give it to you.
Sure.
So welcome, Ben.
All righty. Hello, friends.
Hello.
As Ranger Nick said, my name is Ben. Anybody that I haven't formally met, super happy to be here with y'all. Today, teaching with animals, but not teaching strictly about animals. So everybody get your mind right with that. I'm getting a little crazy. We are going to talk about some stuff that might be a little hot button. That makes it sound more radical than what it is. But I want everybody to know I'm not trying to make you think a certain way or make a decision for you. I just want you guys to engage with what we're going to talk about and consider it. So with that said, first thing I want to do is have everybody think about all of the animals we've seen in class so far and something that is similar about all of them. Anybody have any ideas? There's 2 big hints in the room already. One of them is on this board, the other one's on that. Anything that all of the animals we've seen so far have in common? Sort of, except, yes?
I was going to say, like, dependent on humans.
Okay, that's true.
Good. Good.
That is true. They are not necessarily domesticated. So, everything we've seen so far, they are dependent on humans, particularly Ranger Nick, keep giving them food, clean out their cages and stuff. But they're all wild species. They are not a domesticated species. So the first thing we're going to do is in your group, take about 5 minutes, talk about, write it down if you need to, what makes an animal domesticated, what makes a species domesticated
Hey, Marcy.
versus
Never have got it. Thank you.
there in the
Sorry, I
wild.
didn't hear the
So yeah, everybody take some time,
Right there.
do about 5 minutes, and then when we're done with that, we'll go around and everybody can share some some thoughts on what makes a species
I've seen some
domesticated.
videos, some YouTube videos.
Let's do it.
So,
Excellent.
one, they have to be easily captured.
Not be
too flighty. They have to be receptive to humans. They have to serve a purpose. They have to be easily manable. Like the pandas can't really be domesticated. It's too hard to like successfully mate generation after generation. So they have to breed in captivity well.
What's the question?
What makes an animal domesticated? I said you could walk on
Yeah.
Can't walk a snake.
Can't walk a bird.
Walk a bird.
Litter box, go outside kind of thing. Think about
Well, it's like, so like, technically with domestication, it has to be, for an animal to become domesticated, it has to have changed. Like humans have to have impacted its, like, not morphology necessarily, but its behavior, and it's almost, it's like, well, physiology.
Yeah, it's dependent upon the human at that point that's domesticated or just the human rather than like looking for how it's wild.
Everybody's got one. I got new ones out of the box. Everybody's still
Seagulls.
Yeah, seagulls are wild. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because they don't have their natural instincts anymore. Hang out on the boardwalk.
No, they still have a natural instinct. So I think the idea is that like there's a difference between domesticated and adapted.
You tell me I can't walk the sea.
I'm telling you that if you try to catch a seagull, it's going to run almost every single time.
Okay, are cows domesticated?
Yes, they are. Because they are easily mateable, reproducible, like in captivity. Whereas like sometimes it's hard. Yes, they can be bred and raised like in captivity. They're receptive to humans. They rely on humans, and they serve a purpose for humans.
All right, everybody had time to get some thoughts down? At least talked about. Does anybody want to offer up? Yeah, let's get it.
So they have to be easily mateable or reproducible in captivity.
All right, that is a really good point. I'm gonna
Breed.
yeah, I'm gonna make that easy to breed. What else we got? Anybody else wanna? Yeah, let's get
Red
it.
for humans.
Y'all are doing so good, just right off the bat. Who's next? Let's, yeah,
They're dependent on humans.
okay, that's great. I really thought I was gonna have to nudge y'all in the right direction, just your content out. We hear from teams who haven't given us anything yet.
Because we're talking about like domestication, it's been, how do I say this? Like, over time, they've been with humans, so like dogs and cats, like they've been domesticated because they've been with humans for like hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So like, over time, they're used to people.
Call that a long human relationship.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Got anything there?
It's beneficial for both relationship.
That was good. us to the key point of domestication, which is really this one. That for a species to be domesticated versus just being tame, they need to have been bred by humans for a specific function. So, those functions though are not necessarily specific across species, or specific is not the word I'm looking for, consistent. So, like we're not breeding cows and cats for the same purpose. You know, I mean, there's jokes like in Meet the Parents about like milking a cat, but that's not really why we're breeding cats. Does anybody want to hazard a guess as to what the first animal we domesticated was? Anybody? Sheep, chicken, goats. Still haven't heard it yet. Horse. It's not a horse. I'll give you a hint. They're our best friends. It's dogs. Yeah. Which is just, as a dog lover myself, I'm really into that fact. We kind of started the process of domestication about 10,000 years ago, give or take. But we found burial mounds in Iran from 10,000 to 12,000 BCE. So, if y'all remember how when you hit the change between CE and BCE, the bigger the year, the further away it was. So 10,000 BCE is still 12,000 years ago. 12,000 BCE is 14,000 years ago. That's a long time that we've been hanging out with dogs. Something else that's great about dogs and their domestication is that it happened all over the place. So, make sure you get all this right. Between 10,000 BCE and 7,000 BCE, there's evidence that dogs were being bred in England, Palestine, Japan, and Idaho, which is not what I thought would be the last name on that list. But yeah, why would we want to domesticate dogs? Really, when we're domesticating wolves, why would we want to domesticate wolves? Hunting, that's a good one. Protection, herding, that's a great idea. Although that certainly came along later. It takes a lot of breeding to get a wolf to where not only will it hang out with humans, it will keep other animals safe for humans. So yeah, hunting, protection. Anybody else?
Companionship. Like companionship way down the road.
Companionship, that's a great idea. And honestly, it's kind of an early idea for domesticating dogs, because one of the good things about dogs is they're pretty warm, and if you're really cold, the dog can keep you warm at night. Y'all know that song like, Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Does anybody know the artist of that song? It's a band called Three Dog Night, which is an expression of like, it's so cold you need 3 dogs to sleep with you. The more you know. There's one more kind of dark reason it was good for us to domesticate dogs. Think of something you wouldn't want to do with your dog. You can eat it. It's sad, but ancient humans, you run out of food, they would just eat their dog. Which is obviously not something I'm advocating here. But in the grand scheme of things, that was a benefit for those humans who domesticated the wolves. You could turn your protector into your meal. But yeah, after dogs, we did move on to a lot of different species. In the Fertile Crescent, the Middle East, they did sheep, goats, cattle, and pigs. India, Southeast Asia, they also did cattle and pigs. The Andes Mountain, I like this list a lot. Llamas, alpacas, and guinea pigs. Like, yeah, the Andes are showing up. Egypt did cats, and Europe domesticated rabbits, which cool, I guess. Yeah, so it's been a really long process, and in this process, we've ultimately produced different species, which is kind of crazy to think about. But like currently, we're gonna steer away from this being graphic, but That being said though, they started off as the same species, and through human interaction, they have developed into a wholly different species, which is pretty important when you think about domestication versus tame. Like you could tame a wolf, hypothetically, I don't recommend it, but you could do it. But that wouldn't be a domesticated wolf, it would just be tame. Your dog is a domesticated wolf, which is a pretty cool way to think about it. My dog is an idiot. He would not survive as a wolf. So those are some examples of things that dogs provided for humans. Anything, let's think broader though. What benefits did humans gain from animal domestication? Yeah, no, I agree.
Like that humans gain from like just broad.
Yeah, any animal we domesticated, what's something we gained from it?
I think like increase in food production.
Food's a big one.
And stability with that as well.
I'm sorry?
Like stability with the increase in food production, it's also stable.
Alright, so we got food, stability. We'll throw out one of the ones that we had from dogs, which is companionship.
You're like a more sedentary lifestyle, I guess.
No, that's a good one. If you don't have to. Here, Liberty, I'll let you. What do you mean by that? I feel like I know what you mean, but let's expand on it.
I mean, I know there was like certain Indian tribes before that would like follow the buffalo or follow their food source.
Right.
But when we domesticated cows, we developed our own food source, which in our area we didn't keep on moving.
Yeah.
Which decreased that nomadic lifestyle.
For sure. For sure.
Globalization.
Chris, you're hitting it big. Anything else? Alright, so let's flip it. What benefits do the animals gain from this? Food, yeah? That's a good one. If you're gonna keep an animal domesticated, you gotta keep it fed.
Protection.
Also a really good one.
But it's like not full protection, because with cows, they end up trying to let them.
But think about it long term, and also evolutionarily. We are going to eat those cows, but what are those cows going to do before we eat them? They're going to reproduce. They're going to make more cows. And if we think about this as a species-wide game that's played over thousands of years, every species is trying to preserve itself. Letting yourself be domesticated and eaten by humans, kind of an intense way to do it. But there's a ton of cows now. Like, cows are everywhere. Same with pigs. Like, I don't think pigs would be all over the place if we weren't pretty keen on all of them. Anything else? Animals benefit from? Yeah, heck yeah. I spoil my dog. Are you serious? Like, without me, my dog would not be sleeping in a human bed.
Like along with protection too, like protection from disease and stuff, like you're also finding that like medicine which helps.
Well, health, maybe?
Diversification.
Okay. These are both really good points. Wolves aren't taking themselves to the vet. Chris, you want to expand on what you mean by diversity?
Yeah, so like, mainly I was thinking like genetic, so for instance, yeah, maybe evolutionarily over time, the wolf would, split its genes and become like different things over a long amount of time, but domestication has allowed that gene pool to be split like rapidly, because we selectively breed to create certain qualities, and then that quality is created, but then that other gene pool's left, and then that divides.
That's a really
like
good.
different types of cows or chickens, that we like breed chickens for specific uses.
Yeah, that's a great point. Especially when you think about dogs. One reason that dogs were so effective to be domesticated is that they had a relatively short period of time between birth and when they are able to reproduce. So in like one human lifetime, you can have a ton of generations of dogs. So you could see, if you wanted to be a dog breeder in your life, I started with this kind of dog and now I have a new breed. Which is pretty cool. Anybody see issues with that? Any of this? No? Everything we've done with animals for the history of humanity has been awesome.
I mean, like individually.
I don't believe you.
Individually, like for a dog, with breeding, it has like a lot of health issues for them. And then there's like, we've also read like certain like health problems within species. Like
It's a great.
labs have a lot of like cognitive dysplasia, things like that. Like bulldogs and pugs with really stretched up noses, like breathing problems.
Right. Greyhounds can't sit down. Yeah, they can stand or they can lay.
They can sit down.
But yeah, their back hips won't let them sit. So like, yeah, we did a really cool thing and helped out these species. But we also maybe made some mistakes. Let's see. So yeah, these animals are getting tons of benefits, but when we play a 10,000 year long game, you think those first humans who were like, this wolf over here, I think it could be my friend, was thinking like, one day this dog's nose is going to be so short it can't breathe right. Cool. Okay, well, I feel pretty good about this, what we're thinking about with domestication. Now ready to meet some domesticated things. Yeah. I really don't feel a whole lot of enthusiasm about this. Like Liberty's on board, but everybody else is like, gee. No? Okay, well, we're gonna hang out with the domesticated creature. But first, I want everybody to come up to the front. We're gonna do our cool little half moon thing. So we get close to this guy.
Cow.
Oh, the
Yeah.
That's right. Where's the cow?
Dwarf cow, that's right. I would so love to walk into this building with a cow. I would do it. I mean, this is what people do. They would probably, oh, it's that Ranger Nick.
I really like this asset. We've kind of made more of a heart. Liberty's like the indentation. Y'all see that? I love it, yeah.
That is like a heart. Look at that.
So, everybody settled, feeling good? I don't want to alarm anybody, but what we're pulling out here is pretty wild. I mean, it's domesticated, but what's about to happen? Crazy. This animal has been domesticated by humans for about 4,000 years. And it was domesticated for its fighting prowess. It's a pretty fierce beast. Yeah. There's a giraffe and a cow in this clip. So, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to lift this blanket up. I'm going to reach in here. And I want to keep this this door pretty closed. Because like Ranger Nick said, we don't want it getting out. And it's a possibility with this guy. Also, like I said, I mean, it's a fighter. So if it gets out, you might have to put your dukes up. Just kidding, you're totally safe. When I open it up, I'm going to reach in and I'm going to grab two of its legs in between my fingers here. Well, yeah. Which is going to help me not only show it to y'all, but it's also going to keep it where it can't escape. So here we go.
And I'll tell you what, Mr. Penn, I'll stand over here with you, and I'll, just as a volunteer, I'll kind of hold the door shut a little bit, just in case, gang. You want to have a buddy holding the door shut, because there's multiple ones in here. We don't want extras getting out. So I'll just kind of keep it in there, just so that swing over it, you know. fight.
Okay, here we go. Look at this ferocious beast. You know what this is? Yeah, it's a chicken. Look at this adorable chicken, and imagine how 4,000 years ago somebody was like, that needs to fight. So I'm going to give y'all, in just a minute, a chance to give a two-finger touch to this little guy. And if everybody's okay with it, I want to call him or her Rufio. Anybody familiar with the name Rufio? Oh, that makes me so sad. It's from the 1991 Peter Pan movie Hook, starring Robin Williams, Julia Roberts, and who's that guy from The Graduate? No? Huh?
Steve, that guy, right?
You're really not being helpful. Anyway, in Hook, when the Lost Boys want to celebrate something, they crow like a rooster. And I thought that would be a good name for our little friend here. So yeah, these guys evolved, were bred from red jungle fowl, which sounds like a really cool species for your typical barnyard chicken to come from. Ranger Nick, if you would hit the space bar, I've got a picture of a red jungle fowl. Look at that party chicken, y'all. Just like hanging out in the jungle, looking great. So yeah, unfortunately, we started breeding chickens for cockfighting. It's just like, and it's unfortunately still a thing that happens. And I don't know how anybody looked at these adorable little creatures and was like, let's bet money on whether or not they can kill each other. But that is what happened. And they spread all throughout, this started in Southeast Asia, spread throughout Asia, into Europe, into Africa. And the whole time, they were there for fighting. And it wasn't until like several hundred years later that someone was like, you know these birds we have all over the place? We can eat them and their eggs. So it took a long time to get to what we have here. So I'm going to bring Rufio around and let y'all give him a little two-finger touch. We're going to go with the feathers in that direction. You don't want to ruffle him up. He's looking really good for us right now. And I really want y'all to think about it when you're two-finger touching Rufio. You're touching history, because it took us 4,000 years to get from that party monster to this adorable little handful. So I'm going to work around and yeah, he's making so much noise, it's great. So in 2004, we successfully mapped the entire chicken genome. Does anybody know what mapping a genome means? No one knows what that means? Or no one wants to say?
Tracing like DNA and
Yeah,
stuff
so,
like that.
yeah, it's basically saying like, this is what all of the genes in a genome do. So like we're working on mapping the human genome, because it'll tell us like this gene, besides, I mean, yeah, we can do like hair color and stuff, like this gene is what gives you a disease or long hair, or well, I guess long hair is not from the doctor, but barber, not doctor. So when we mapped the chicken genome, we found mutations that determined a lot of different things. One of those big things was metabolism and how they processed what they ate. So right now, it takes less than 2 pounds of grain to produce 1 pound of chicken. Which is kind of a brutal way to think about it. But basically, like, if you can feed this guy a little under 2 pounds of grain, he will produce a pound of body. So there's some ways that we can think about chickens as a system to convert grain into protein. which is significant for ancient humans. It's kind of hard to get protein. This is a pretty metal fact, but in like ancient Near East religions, when animals were sacrificed for, you know, retribution for what was done wrong or ceremonial reasons, they would eat those animals when they sacrificed them. They weren't just killing them and then being like, okay, thanks, here you go, whatever god we're worshiping. Because they often, like, they weren't eating animals all that often. It's pretty hard to come by, put a lot of work, a lot of resources into making an animal. So it was a special thing to say, like, we're gonna, like, yeah, we're sacrificing this animal and it has religious significance, but it's also like this one time of the year we're gonna eat meat. Yeah, tell them about it, Rufio. So in ancient times, it was a lot harder to come by protein. So it was good to have animals that could convert grain, which was much more plentiful, into protein, which is something we need. That being said, there's some ways to think about this as just a system of converting it. Does anybody have any thoughts about considering animals as a grain to protein conversion system?
You think of them more as a machine, you're less likely to treat them well, so like other being.
Totally. Totally. Like, small though it may be, he's got a little brain in there. He has some level of sentience. But we have consistently bred them, Rufio and his kinfolk, to be those converters of grain into protein. And we've done it really, really well. Like right now it takes a little less than 2 pounds of grain to make a pound of chicken. But in 1945 it took double that. So in just like 70 years, we've really, really changed how these things grow and live and exist. We've also, when we mapped that chicken genome, we also learned about, we've changed when they mate and lay eggs. That used to be on a, kind of like a mating season timer, but it was tied to the length of days. So when the days got longer, it was like time to start laying eggs and stuff. And now we changed it where they're just like laying eggs constantly. Which is, you know, that's not inherently wrong. I like eggs as much as the next person, you know, make me an omelet. But we have kind of turned these guys into just little egg laying machines. Additionally, we've made it so that some broiler chickens, which is a really intense name for chickens that are bred and grown to be eaten as opposed to laying chickens. A lot of broiler chickens have lost their instinct to roam around. So they'll be kept in, chicken houses on a farm. And all they do is just like sit around and wait for their next allotment of food. So when we, you go to the store and you buy free-range chicken or free-range eggs, you don't know what that means? Anybody?
But isn't it, they're just like one of those like chicken things that they're not like a cage or anything like that?
Yeah, it's that they have the ability to walk out of their chicken house and walk around some. But we've bred chickens to not do that. So your free-range chicken could be a chicken that the door is open on their chicken house, but they will never ever leave it because their instincts are just like sit here, wait for food. Which, I get on one hand, like yeah, I do that sometimes, but but also it kind of makes you think about like what really is free range then, because that chicken, ostensibly has the ability to go out and party in the barnyard, like his predecessor, the mighty jungle fowl. But ultimately, it's not going to do that because it no longer has that instinct. Like we've really changed it that intensely. Additionally, when things aren't free range, chickens that is, they normally have about half a square foot that they live in their whole life, which, you know, a full-grown chicken is going to take up most of a half square foot. But let's back up for just a second, and why does that chicken exist? I don't mean like existentially, I guess I should say, how does it exist? How is it that this chicken is in my hand and is not running around in the jungles of Southeast Asia? Yeah. Did you have something?
Human demand.
Right, like it's human behavior over thousands of years that has given us Rufio here, who is really cute, as opposed to Party Chicken on the screen. Oh yeah, that's a good peck. So what do you guys think that means in terms of human responsibility towards these animals?
I mean, they depend on us, choosing those houses, even pretty much for their whole entire survival. I mean, and like you said too, since we've bred that instinct in them, for them not to like really just sit there and wait for their food, they completely depend on us.
Yeah.
So we're very responsible.
Yeah. They exist because of us. Rufio would just be partying it up in Thailand. And it's not a bad thing that Rufio isn't partying it up in Thailand, but we certainly have some responsibility there. So that's really the key point I want to impart to you guys is that I'm not saying like stop eating your chicken, because I mean, God knows I love eating chicken. Sorry, Rufio. Yeah, cover your ears. And I'm not saying like you know, don't love your family's golden retriever because he sounds awesome. But we need to think about what responsibilities we have to these animals that really exist because we made it so. I mean, not us specifically, but we have this kind of generational responsibility that 10, 12,000 years ago we started breeding things, and now here we are. Yeah, I know, buddy, I know. Yeah, we've got to think about that. So I want to encourage y'all to just try and learn about our relationship with animals more. And it really doesn't take a whole lot of searching, looking around to discover more about these relationships. Like finding out what does free range mean, finding out what sort of problems have been bred into dogs before you adopt an animal or you know, buy one from a breeder. And again, I'm not saying it's wrong to get a purebred dog. I know a lot of purebred dogs that are great, but we just want to think about what our actions are doing to these animals that we really have like a species-wide responsibility for. So yeah. Now, I'm going to put Rufio back in his little home with his two friends. And we can all go back to our teams. We're going to do another little activity to get us thinking about what responsibilities we have for these animals. So let me get them in there before we all move, and then we can go back to our tables.
And we'll have a chance here in a little bit to do some handling with these guys. I'll show you how to take one out, and there's multiple ones in there, and how to hold it. And we can compare Scooter to one of these, because I got Scooter with me. We compared them on Wednesday. I want you to see them up close, how similar they actually are to one another. And of course, we've got this sheet right over that, of course, too. So we'll head on back to our table.
Go back to our tables with our teams.
All right.
It's a worthy fight.
Get out of your way here, guys. All right. And And that little fella, what did you call, what was his name again? Rufio. Rufio is 7 days old. He's 1 week old.
Oh,
How old is he?
my lord.
And he's a broiler. He's a cob broiler chick is what his name is, his species you call it. Cob broiler.
So we're going to do two things right now. One of them is going to be at your table in your team. The other, we're going to pair up with another team. So before we get into it, I'm just going to go ahead and pair us up. Y'all already 2 teams here? Done. Say these 2 teams back here. And then
Done.
these 2 teams. So everybody's in pairs. While we're doing the activity that I'm about to pitch to y'all, Ranger Nick is gonna come around. I guess we'll start with these 2 teams. 2 teams together will go up to Ranger Nick, and he's gonna show y'all how to take the chickens in and out, like I did. What to do when you've got multiple in one enclosure. So that'll give us a little hands-on experience. So while that is happening, we are going to thank an animal. Y'all ever seen walking around campus? I know they do it like once a semester. They're like, thank a donor day. You know what I'm talking about? When I have like signs like, if it weren't for donors, you wouldn't have this library or whatever. So I want to do that, but with animals. So in your teams, you're going to design a poster. And the poster is going to do one of 2 things. First, regardless of what you do, your poster should have a graphic or picture and a slogan. Don't worry about not being a great artist. We're literally using magic markers, so nobody's expecting high-minded art. That being said, what you want to do with your poster is either thank a specific species for their contribution to the human-animal relationship there. For instance, this is pretty low, but you could thank chickens for giving us eggs. We take them. So that's the first thing you want to do. Thank an animal. You know, maybe you're going to thank a dog for alerting our ancestors to danger so that we didn't get eaten by bears. Or you need to thank an animal that way. Or you're going to encourage humans with your poster to take responsibility in a specific human-animal relationship. So we don't want be kind to animals as that slogan. It would be more like find out what free range means. Don't do that one because I just told it to you. But that's what you're doing. So feel free to use your phone or computer if you want to look up some specific species things. We're going to take about 10 minutes doing this. Scratch that. Let's do about 15 so that we have time to check out our animals also, our chicken friends. And then at the end of that, we will, as teams, share our posters. Here we go. So if y'all want to start though with remember to raise your hand.
Oh, no, I did it last time. You got it.
You can draw.
Well, first of all,
Okay, if you tell me what to draw.
these guys out. Y'all wanna, let's take Scooter out.
Y'all
Is
think
anybody
I
already
registered just as your team? So then I'll grab both of
what we know so far?
y'all. Check out the
I'm a regular old Jackson Pollock.
Gotta find him.
We haven't domesticated shrimp.
Someday-
I don't know what y'all are doing, but I'm like listening to sounds.
Yeah, there's free range shrimp.
We don't. Hey, people don't grow.
You guys know what kind of animal you want to?
And then what?
You can't grow shrimp. I said a cow, but they don't want to do it.
No, the shrimp farm. The shrimp kebab.
Hey, I mean, I don't have like any family counseling experience, so I don't know that I can help y'all sort out your species disagreement, but I like the sound of a cow.
What about a shrimp farm? You tell me there's no shrimp farm.
I mean, there are things like salmon farms.
Okay, what's
What animal?
It's that.
Yeah, what animal does it? Let's just figure that out first. Shrimp's nobody.
That's what's up. I love y'all showing up today. Respecting my team. Hey, I'll be back on Wednesday. Don't let you think that just know I'm a big star now. I forgot about you.
seeing that they're gonna be making.
Now, my only question is, so like fish farms, are those domesticated or are those captive bred?
I don't think the fish has a large enough range to domesticate.
See, like, there are technical definitions of domestication. That doesn't, they don't have to be a companion.
You can train a goldfish.
So that's
I don't know.
Well, it's not about training, it's about like,
getting.
I'll ask the president expert.
I
I
am.
just want
Okay.
Casey, one tries to scoot up,
Just take
not
it.
going to the audience, but going the other way.
I'll allow it.
The only thing I'll tell you is.
Because it will allow it.
Mad handwriting.
Okay, we'll come talk to the whole crew.
To keep this door from flying.
We have been so authorized.
Yeah, I think that's cool because, especially if it's in like a fishery situation,
Yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking.
yeah, we're like, you're breeding them for a specific purpose, and even though like sturgeon in a caviar farm could probably interbreed with a sturgeon in the wild, that sturgeon has still been like bred for human purposes, so I'll allow it.
we have been authorized. Alright, so are we even doing fish?
It was just a
Sure.
question.
Before you start drawing, I think you should think about what you're gonna put
Fingers underneath.
Big fish right there.
fish.
It's for
Okay.
beef.
Yeah.
So thinking about,
What do you think about it?
thinking a slogan or like a.
Little legs. Little legs, there it goes. Little legs in between my fingers. is best. You just can't say.
What does that say?
Fish, man's best friend.
Drugs, like as a beef.
Well, no, actually, I go back and forth on that.
Somebody
Let's
else.
shoot things out.
You're teaching and you wanna get them to your.
But don't we, are we trying to like,
When you're talking, you just want your teaching partner.
sorry, what's the goal of the slogan here again? I need.
So you want to either thank a species,
Slide it
like,
right in.
yo, sturgeon, thanks for the caviar,
Gotcha.
or be like, yo, humans, you know where your caviar comes from?
He's really funny.
Oh, okay.
Cool. And the other thing I like about
Alright,
this
so
collection is this.
Animals.
Your turn. You don't have to have.
Thank you, Goldfish, for being Phillips.
We wanna try to keep that next base.
What, Goldfish?
And just like that. And now folks can do the teaching.
I see that color scheme. That's
Well,
red and that's red and black, right? We've got the red, green, color line, that's pretty hard.
Is that, are we gonna do fishing with
What up, Bulldogs?
Thanks for calling me down.
close look at students.
Thanks for planning me in.
Ooh, I'm already.
You want to see what
Are you guys bullying Jean-Marc?
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Giving me the fin fish.
Exercise to do with kids. So there's a lot.
Thanks for helping me not be thin. You know, fish. The word fin comes at the end, like foreign films.
Yeah.
Signify end.
There's like a French guy smoking a cigarette, and they're like, oh, we would thin.
He saw her, like live.
Just grab Liberty's tea right here. We'll get you all
Oh, yeah, so we're in fish.
Chickens.
And what's the slogan? Fin, that's it.
that too.
Man's best friend.
Hey,
I'm just
man's best
separating them.
fin is like apostrophe.
I'm gonna show y'all, Casey, would you
Steal one.
Come on, Robbie and I are just throwing out slogans here.
Fish.
Yes, margarine really important.
Fish. It's the chicken secret.
I'm gonna allow.
Is there something fishy about where you're
Take these guys out. Okay? Okay.
They were thinking really too hard.
No, we're not thinking hard
A
enough.
sheet over top.
We just need to write down something.
Very, very important. Kind of doing as few peeps as possible when they're in there. Here's the one thing about taking these guys out. We're facing this way.
Look, nothing fishy here.
True.
Yeah.
Looking out in this direction.
Nothing fishy here, we're just here.
Now, this scenario, what am I drawing?
Absolutely.
Or are we gonna talk about the mental health
And then if something
aspect,
goes
or
wrong,
we're gonna talk
I'm
about
gonna
the
look.
eating
I've
aspect?
had this happen with ducks before. You open and close
So
the door.
in my head, the eating aspect,
Yes.
nothing fishy here could be like a slogan from like
Restaurant.
a fish farm that has like 100% certified, omega-3, mercury-free, whatever.
How about get hooked on fish? Get hooked on fish.
Dang it.
Get hooked on fish with base, and
You know, you
then,
can just literally draw a fish, a giant fish.
So I'm gonna come over here.
yeah,
I'm gonna
and
get
then just say,
I'm gonna get you
yeah,
to
fish have been really good.
to
They're
hold
really
this
easy
door
for us to
against my
take care of.
arm for me. I'm gonna step over here.
So get hooked on fish, fish on the hook.
Or you better
Thank you,
do
Because
this.
you got two chicks in there. We wanna keep the other one in.
So are we
This time,
taking them or like what are we doing?
do that right.
Just saying how, yeah, we're
We're gonna
thanking
try to
them.
put these little
We're thanking them for how much.
Just say we're
Farm
hooked on fish,
recreation.
thank you fish for,
and keep this little bottom there.
The big picture
I'm gonna
is good.
turn it around.
Alrighty.
I need the right.
Against my arm.
Go.
I'm gonna try and
It's so warm.
grab my second hand here. Slide it up.
Oh, look at all
We
those.
keep our other
So
buddy
we
in
have
there.
to get
And
hooked
the
on fish
legs?
up here.
Right in
Yeah.
between my fingers. Just kind of keep them like that. And then I go kind of holding, but I'm still gonna go down to the ground.
why don't you go to
Drops or something like that.
crappy one?
Anybody want to try to take them from me with their fingers like that? Slide right in. You want to try? All right, come on down here, let me real. So open your fingers up there. I'm gonna slide them in like that. And then I'm gonna back my hand out and just make sure his little leg goes in between, like that. And there you go. Well, I'll be good with the bathroom, and some work pants, all that stuff. But yeah, and beautiful, and notice his face is pointing over it, so people can two finger touch him very easily.
Yeah.
Not that he's
There's
gonna
the hook.
hurt you, but it's just,
Pretty proud of it.
so yeah.
Show myself.
Chloe's got a great grip. Do we want to practice?
Thank
Maybe taking that little
And then-
fella there. I'm gonna get one more
Well,
to
the fish isn't going on top of the hook. It
and
goes
then
on.
we're gonna hand this guy off.
This is
We're
gonna be the
take
fishing
one out,
line going
so you guys
up,
get
and
back
then
to
get
the
hooked on
post.
fish is gonna be like, the hooks
From
gonna be
Liberty
coming
there,
behind
and we're
to
just
where.
gonna get down close to the ground.
Now, the only thing is, I did the
But
hooking
that's
right.
true, y'all. It takes
Should the
you
line
a
also
second
be
to sort of
green?
get up close, see how similar it is? Just.
It should be green. It has a green fishing line.
Turtle there, you
That
know?
green fishing line is like really strong. Really
It's good stuff,
high.
and what a neat message to share with an audience, the similarities between turtles and chicks, it's just really cool.
Get fisherman's nuts then.
Hey, Daniel, can I get y'all's team up, and Brittany, can I get y'all to come up real quick? Come on up.
Chicken time.
Peanut butter chicken
Come
time.
on over there, with our hand signal, okay, come on over here, gang.
Okay.
Get you around here, so I don't create your path. Now, I was just telling these teams,
No blueprint.
the sheet over top, beautiful,
I typed it out,
from a
that's
surprise factor standpoint, but also keeps it calm, so that's a good thing, The other thing I want y'all to know, when you go to take a bird out in front of an audience, keeping the door facing toward the audience is kind of not so good. We're doing that today just for the sensibility, but I'm gonna keep this door facing this way. Why do you think that is? When I go to take them out, why would I take them out this way if the audience is here?
They fly out, turn around, run in.
And I've had that happen with ducks. I go to open the door, right at the audience. I mean, at least he's going away from the audience this way. Why else would I not want them to see the front of me?
Happy birthday, son.
Surprise.
That's one thing. Sure.
They might get mad if there's poop.
Yeah, this is the from an image standpoint. And I'm always a fanatic about keeping enclosures clean, but dirty dirt. If someone looks in and sees poop in there, they might think, hey, wait a minute, why is it so dirty in there? It's more noise. I want to face that back this way. But today, we're doing it like that. Now, I'm going to go in here with my little hand signal like this. That's how I'm going to go in with my hands. Come on in. So one thing I'm going to ask you to do is you come over here and hold the door. We're going to practice. I hold the door against my arm while I do this. Now, this is just kind of like practicing. There's only one chicken.
Why do you think there's a?
If there was 4 or 5, I really need you to hold the door against my arm to keep it from flying open.
It's a nice
So I
one.
always
Yeah.
get my.
I like the way it looks.
It's for discipline.
Y'all,
Yeah.
just check.
You guys don't stop talking.
YouTube video go viral when stuff starts flying out. So I'm gonna take my fingers like this.
Maybe it's the
and
class.
stick this
Oh,
in
no.
there.
So maybe it's a take it home every week.
Between my fingers.
This is perfect.
And we're gonna,
This is awesome.
This guy.
yeah, and then I'm gonna put that back. Just so he can't see it. And I've got it, his little bottom's in the palm of my hand, so he can leave me a present later, nobody else knows. Those little feet are there, it just makes it nice. Typically what I try to do, I did this backwards.
My mom like
Put his facing up towards my wrist instead of down and backwards. But if I had to turn around, notice anytime I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna put him down close to the ground. Just put my little fingers in there. Now that's textbook. Face towards me, bottom half my head.
I'm forever right now.
Anybody want to try to take it from the floor? Fingers and slide it in. Try it. Come on down here. Just in case, we don't want to transfer standing up to be so tall.
It's like a
Put your hand, what's your thumb? Right here? Yeah. So take your hand, I'm gonna open those fingers up, and I'm gonna kind of slide his little legs right in between your fingers. Okay, little leg in there. Okay, now you can just kind of close them up. Okay? You miss one of those little legs, is that okay? There you go. Got it. Feel comfortable with it. Now his head's facing out, but that's okay. For right now, just practice holding it. Warmer than you thought, huh? It's pretty hot. Yeah, it's pretty hot, little fella. Handing him off to somebody else. So let's take Scooter. Let's get, you want to take Scooter real quick? Hand him off. I love the way in which that's doing. Back in first, just in case. He's a nice one, but just in case, to do that. And we got that hamburger approach ready. You okay with this, Klaus? Okay, good. Just in case, put that hand on top, two fingers underneath, if you get somebody that gets skittish.
somewhat late.
Once in between our fingers.
Oh my gosh.
Y'all doing okay? There should be one more. I know somebody's pocket's moving around, I know. Take one out, I'm sorry. So we're gonna wanna transfer him to somebody. He's a ferocious turtle here, right? I know. And it is important, gang, with the chicks today, with the hand sanitizer, for sure. You never know with the salmonella stuff. So. But notice the similarities between these guys and turtles. I mean, it really, the scales on the legs, notice the scales here. Just really, really cool. Yeah, absolutely. So, I would put my hand and two fingers right underneath the center of the stomach, just so that you got his little legs should be able to get your fingers down. Now he should be able to stretch his fingers. Exactly. And then you might throw off what you're saying.
No.
So
It's okay.
and then you'll take your fingers.
So like literally
Just
don't
keep
have
his
any idea
little
what's
legs.
going on, so we're like, okay, he's just like sleeping sleep up.
And the warmer he gets, the more active he's going to be. That's what I'm here.
Did you get a chicken?
Do you want to hand him over to somebody else? Okay.
You ready?
And yeah, Marcia, that's a good idea. Just right by the ground.
If it's
Right
gonna
behind
be
you.
right there on my side.
Yeah, come on down here. I'm gonna take him back from you. Thanks. Excellent.
Because like,
See what you did there?
I checked
like
the
it.
classes this
Like
morning,
in 4 years, they teach you how to grab the legs, just like
but like,
is that picture was good for you for that.
some
That's
people
the
have
whole
to
that way.
Even with a teenager chicken, I do it like that. With a full-grown chicken, I try to put him under my mouth. Put him under my mouth. Yeah.
and he doesn't have to do it because he has
That's a
to
whole
be
nother
class.
skill.
Yeah, oh yeah, okay, yeah. That's fair.
I like the little guys, even with ducks, it's working. Smaller ducks.
And I'm like, we're not gonna let you take our grade. Because you haven't like done it.
Yeah, once you talk them, they're fine, but.
Just reach in there and grab it. How we doing, folks? We got, so let's put these guys back. We got,
When you wrote that
put
to
these
me,
little fellas back. Oh, come over here, Roy.
awesome. That's a really good before.
But we want to keep the door warm.
Milk, tools, tacos, leather, everything.
And there he goes. All right, and come on down here. Good.
Well,
Some of this stuff. You got it? And we got
a lot of the like
door shut.
tidbits
Always
are
remember
like
his buddy when
but
the door shut.
I've also like Get some like jewelry, like watching documentaries and stuff. What's your question?
I was gonna ask if you.
There we go, got it. Perfect, perfect. Good job. Okay,
It's a really good.
all right, now I wanna,
And it's
I wanna check
weird
on
because like,
Meanwhile, Chris,
so like 4,000 years ago, they started
me and my Skype.
Ignore that
Chicken
one.
is done.
4,000 and some change.
laying right back.
They were like, these things are.
Oh, wait,
She's the main focus.
wait,
All be
right.
changed.
Not done.
And then I think this is really the definition of the dark ages.
Aren't you ready? How it is today, yeah. Sure, sit down and watch
I'm good at that. I wanted to add some ambiance.
Whatever changes, like whatever science is nothing. But also when the Roman fell,
chicken fries, that's what it says, chicken fries.
They're also happy on that to have like geese
Where's the
and
grill?
oil and stuff.
The green
Except for red.
like.
Here's the gray.
And then as long as we got back to eating chickens. So I really feel like that's the dark ages, is that period of time when we were like, nah, don't eat chicken.
Yeah, see, cool.
And then once we started eating chicken again, everything turned out fine.
Oh, we got a couple minutes, we wanna practice with the chicks one more time, taking them out, anybody wanna do any handling
Like
over
a
here?
colon and
Yeah,
Trying this
I was
again?
just gonna write the words.
We keep these little fellas, come on, yeah, let's try, let's just
What's
say
the
what
point
to
of
do.
that one again?
And
You can see there's no embargo on it.
I'm gonna be your buddy.
His house is orange!
Yeah.
Can y'all have your poster ready in 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Did you want
3 more minutes?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just whatever. Yeah, I guess.
Thanks.
Okay, reasons.
If we just like gave up on cows.
I need to make a plan.
What's our, you know, probably slow.
Yeah, she's going to.
Yeah, just let Julie rock him work.
Well, I'm gonna have to just come around here. I'm gonna have to undo the sticky. Just come around here.
Oh, yeah, purple, okay.
I got red. I got green.
This is red.
Just in case.
Yeah, let's talk to our native farmer here at our table.
Okay,
And we're selling it because fish help us.
and if you
I
want.
guess we're gonna give that 2 more minutes on the posters.
Where's the gray? What am I doing with this?
Or just come down to your team if you're
Let's show everybody real quick.
I see y'all.
Let's finish now. Look at these little wings. If y'all want to look, I don't know if you realize it, every wings come out of what looks like a straw, like a McDonald's straw.
Okay.
And when you're teaching kids about how feathers run, they literally, that quill is a straw and the feather comes out of it. So I'll oftentimes bring McDonald's straws and show them, this is the straw of the feather. And show them that, you know, it's really kind of cool to see when you're teaching the kids.
It's actually, this is pretty good production quality here.
Oh, we're. Yeah, y'all paid for the royalties.
Even the orange.
It says
Everybody know.
We should all be done.
UGA is very litigious.
You don't eat fish.
Some of these things.
If there's any animal I'm gonna eat, it's
See some of these posts. This is great. This is great.
that I will use.
No, that's what I'm saying.
How much else?
Like, that's the only meat you eat. If you're a vegetarian, so you do eat meat.
Little straws, like
Okay.
McDonald's straws,
Oh.
growing out.
Yeah, I am burgers in the same.
I would just say,
What?
give them fish. Fish are
I'll tell you what.
Oh,
I mean, I can
you.
tell
Yeah,
that's
thank you for
chicken
being
for
a
sure. You would
staple.
never know that.
Right down here, with the dirt.
Easy, accessible.
Sounds like something I would say. That's good. Good for you.
It's you.
There you go.
I'm gonna draw another one.
Yeah.
Mouth is
And
open.
you let
Alright.
people
It
tell.
will be you one day.
It's a sort of foods that they get.
This provides health benefits.
So like with the chicken,
what
I'm
are
not
the reasons?
comfortable once they get above teenage.
Shrimp
Because when they're full grown, especially these big ones, you gotta hold them under your arm, and their little legs are kicking, it's not comfortable. So I try to
Okay.
I have a pink.
myself, but yeah, too big, if it's too big for your comfort, it's too big. I don't even play around. If I'm not comfortable, don't even use it.
Guys, this looks
For sure.
good.
You don't wanna be that video on YouTube, you know? Always remember that, somebody's gonna video it, so, yeah, good question. I don't go over the teenager size with chickens, just the little ones are what I do. And ducks are the same. You can have
What
big
makes
farm ducks that are
chickens
way too
great?
big to handle.
They're tasty.
Smaller,
Do they?
mallard duck, smaller.
Are they like bugs, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, we can do that.
Or like
You wanna try to put it back in there?
Or
Alright, don't gotta get our buddy over, I need your
You
buddy.
can get past.
But remember,
like,
you gotta hold that voice up.
Hey.
Liar, holding this thing,
Oh,
yeah.
that is a nice right there, okay.
Let's do what, Thursday?
All right, everybody, we got our posters mostly done. We're gonna share these as groups. I'll go first with the poster I drew up here real quick. I wanted to thank dogs. You warmed our ancestors. You warm our hearts. Thanks, dogs. I really wanted this to kind of be like Exhibit from Tent My Ride. Like, y'all remember that? Anybody? That dude loved to throw around the word dog. It's like a term of affection. So that's kind of the vibe I was going for. And my dog here is saying, I used to be a wolf. That's my poster. We get volunteers for a team to go first, showing us their poster. We don't have to come up to the front of the room. Somebody can just stand up and hold the poster so that everybody can see it. Liberties, what's up?
Small poster. We thank Bulldogs for the dogs, and then we drew a little UGAG because they're our mascot. So.
Hey.
Cute.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Way to go. Way to go. Anybody else? Somebody next? Chris.
Okay. So we said get hooked on fish, and we said thanks fish for being a stable food source with health benefits and omega-3s.
Man, I love that omega-3. I also like that your fish are hanging out in Bikini Bottom.
Yeah,
I see you.
Just chilling out.
Yeah, yeah. Who else? All right.
We said next time you eat a nug, be thankful.
I thought of this while I was walking around, and I just got the thank Phil bit. That's clever, you guys. Snaps for that. Yeah, I love a good wordplay. Who else?
Okay, John Mark's gonna go.
John Mark's gonna go.
Get excited about, and this is our chicken. I colored it, so if there's anything messed up with the colors, it's my fault. Reasons chickens are excellent. What's his name? Young. Keep bug poop low.
Population.
Population low. Chicken or the egg? Question mark. Birds are real.
Yeah.
And hashtag learn. Those are hashtags.
Way to go.
Good.
I love that classic Ranger Nick portmanteau, smashing your words together. That was great. Y'all ready?
Ours, I guess, is a little bit more somber. We said, make sure that this is mutually beneficial. We're making sure that this relationship is actually mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
We say this.
We get those delicious nugs and all of those exciting eggs. What are we doing for chicks?
Very good.
This is our last
This
one.
one.
Oh, here we go.
Cow for milk, tools, blood, meat, and fat and leather.
About leather, but that's absolutely, I forget about that.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. Great.
That's great.
I appreciate all of everybody getting into this today and making some pretty great posters. Thanks for listening to me talk about domestications and hanging out with Rufio. And yeah, you know, as you're going out about your day, whenever you interact with an animal that's domesticated, you know, just think about what that relationship is historically and what we owe that animal now. That's all I've got.
Thank you very, very much. Great job.